part of what is the experience of understanding what you're going to be buying, especially as the value of these projects gets larger. People want to know what they're going to be getting, and it's oftentimes difficult to understand that from a small sample or just a rendering.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk Podcast, a regular discussion with building industry professionals. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. Today I'm joined by Aaron Cash, President of Garage Living Franchise Systems. You can find the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk Podcast and the original Fine Homebuilding Podcast at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. You can ask questions and leave feedback there too. Aaron, thanks very much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to see you.
Patrick, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I think you are the fourth or fifth Canadian we've had on the show, so you're doing a great job to represent your country. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, and my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Can you please talk about your business? You have a franchise garage outfitting business, and can you talk about how that got started and how many franchisees there are and where they're located and basically how it works to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So Garage Living was started in 2005 as an independent single entity company. We had focus on simply doing garage organization for customers in our local market. And that business grew. And in 2014, we franchised the concept. And we now have 34 locations with 28 across the US and 6 across Canada. And since we started, we've completed over 20,000 garage projects.
That's incredible to me. So did you have an interest in
quite popular.
Did you have an interest in construction before you started this company? How did it come about?
So I've always been interested in construction and building. I consider myself handy, but don't have a background in any specific trade or carpentry. More just doing projects with my dad at his cabin. I have a business background, and this was an opportunity that came about. At the time when we started, HGTV was like exploding, and there was so much focus on home improvement and DIY and increasing real estate values and flipping houses, and the big box retailers were opening, a store a day across North America, and garages were really that forgotten a space in the home that was getting very little attention and had a ton of potential. And
did you see this as a need in the marketplace? Did you think that this would be a successful enterprise? Is that why you chose garages, or is it just because there was no one else doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. There was both a need and a void in the market in terms of companies that were both selling products for garage organization, and then companies like ours who were also providing the service of installation and design and basically taking it from end to end. And so as we continued to grow and build and create category awareness, it's become recognized as a space that many homeowners want to finish, and so that's helped drive our growth. But in the early days, there were other companies, that had sort of started to pave the way by extending their product lines into the garage space, and that created the initial awareness and started the movement to really have homeowners demanding our products and services.
So what is the typical budget for a project like this? And I'm sure it varies quite a bit based on the size of your garage and the stuff folks want in there, but is there a starting point that these things people can expect to pay, and what is a more average number subsequently?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a range for sure, and I'm happy to share that with you. I think that one of the things that we have to do as a company with each and every one of our clients that we meet is really explain the value of the space, understand their wants and needs, so that we can put a custom proposal together that address those things. So we don't have a standard package of A, B, and C for them to choose and simply just have us, drop it in. And so that being said, smaller projects tend to cost between $3,000 or $4,000, where more involved, complete projects that we call transformations, for example, in a double car garage, are ranging from $10,000 to $20,000 typically.
And what do folks want to do with the space? Or is it like automotive hobby, motorcycle hobby, outdoor activities, garden tools? What do most people want to do with their garage after they've contacted you?
So that's sort of where it's quite unique in what we do, and our name as well, Garage Living. I mean, people think that okay, so this company would come in perhaps and create an apartment, and they often do that in warmer climates. But really, livable and living is up to the client to determine what that means. We can assist them in understanding what they want to do with, or they can explain to us what they want to do with the space. But from there, we then will put a proposal together that addresses those things. So we have clients that simply want to organize the belongings they have in the garage and make room to park a car. We have clients that have a unique or summer car that they want to keep protected in the garage. There are clients that are simply very busy families and need to get all of their children's belongings up off the floor so that they can enter the home without tripping over a bicycle or a scooter. And then there are clients that have hobbies like, woodworking, or they may do work on their own cars if that's what they like to do. And, beyond that, there are clients that want a place to put a ping pong table or, watch a big game with friends and family. And then most recently during COVID, this has become a very unique space because it's indoor, outdoor, and people can gather with social distancing and make use of a space that they wouldn't have wouldn't have otherwise used in the past.
I'm glad you brought it up. So have you seen an uptick in business like many other residential contractors because of COVID-19?
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was very, we were very unsure as to how this was going to impact business. And there was a very brief, 3-week period where everybody was hunkered down and questioning what they were going to do. And then from there, everybody realized, okay, this is going to be the new normal for quite a while. And, our clients, generally speaking, would have not been majorly impacted. Most homeowners who were able to either work from home or could find a way to continue to work, we're looking at their own space and saying, well, we have resources that we're not spending on travel or entertainment, and we'd love to really invest more in our home. And the garage is one of those areas because it's such a large space in an average home that they've wanted to take on as a project. So we're very grateful that the demand has been extremely strong through last year right up until today.
I know people personally who have had to employ their garages into workspaces and school spaces. And, you can leave the car outside, but you can't make your kids sit outside in winter and go to class, right?
Yeah, we've seen everything from homeschool setups to home offices, home gyms has been a huge one.
I bet.
And then everything in between. There was a client that literally couldn't get on the golf course through some of the colder months and just set up a golf simulator, a temporary golf simulator in the garage space that we finished in order to continue his love of the game.
It's pretty cool. So what are the advantages for contractors to becoming part of a franchise organization? Do you help with leads and marketing? I mean, is that part of the arrangement?
Yeah, so leads and marketing is a major part of what we do as a franchise organization. We have always been at the forefront of digital marketing, and while other contractors, early days, were spending still tons of money on yellow pages ads. So as an organization, we are focused on lead generation through our digital platform, as well as all of the other traditional marketing channels. But we work on our search engine marketing, our search engine optimization, our social media marketing, and really driving leads for all of our markets so that we can have opportunities to meet with new clients who are interested in our work.
I've observed you're going up against some very big players like Whirlpool. The Gladiator like garage stuff is the first in this genre I remember. Like, how is it competing with these big companies? Do you feel like you're spinning your wheels, or do you have something you can offer that these bigger companies can't?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of us being in a very different channel and a very different target market, we're not spinning our wheels at all. In fact, in the beginning, Whirlpool and Gladiator, their brand for garage products really helped pave the way for category awareness, and still do in many respects. Their products are primarily sold through big box retailers and retail channels, and they do have some dealers as well. But at the same time, our company focuses on clients that want not only high quality products, but also the personalized customer service. So, do it yourself may have been what drove the category in the beginning, but our focus on clients who, are part of the do it for me category really value the fact that we come in, we focus on design, we focus on their needs, we focus on, their lifestyle, as well as their aesthetic. So what are their tastes? And then, put together a proposal and then execute on that vision. And so it's really not, Whirlpool and Gladiator, I wouldn't consider a direct competitor. And really there's a large opportunity for us as an organization to reach our clientele and service them well.
I think you'd agree that one of the risks in a franchise model is that your franchisee doesn't represent the values of the company. They skip out with clients' money, their deposit, or they don't show up to meetings, or they're just maybe cranky. How do you ensure that the people who are going to become your franchisees share your same company values?
Yeah, no, it's an excellent question. And it's one that every franchise organization has to deal with in terms of ensuring that customer service standards and installation standards and overall
and cash flow. I think you'd agree. Like, a lot of folks don't have enough money to start a business, even though they think they do, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so that's one of the, there's a lot of benefits to being part of a franchise organization that, I think your first question was in terms of, understanding whether there's a fit with the franchise candidate in our organization. We go through a rigorous process where the first thing we do is evaluate, the need, why this individual wants to join our organization. Do they have the resources? You mentioned cash flow, because there's an upfront investment, and then there's an investment to get the business to a certain level so that it is cash flowing itself. And then they need to have those resources in place to do that. And then in this order, but not least important, is the cultural fit. So the understanding that, we're here to serve our clients and our employees and our communities and our vendors, and having that customer service focus and attitude that's required to not only represent the brand properly, but build their business based on not only the leads that we generate, but also our reputation locally and the referrals we require and all those other aspects. And while the franchise organization, because we're sharing a brand across many locations, has risks of issues that come up with customer service that doesn't meet our standards, we're here as an organization, as a franchisor, to ensure that we protect the entire brand for everyone by, evaluating to make sure that we are consistent in our customer service, our execution, our overall sales process, and the like, in every location.
So do your dealers typically come from a residential construction background, or are they new to this and want to get involved? Or I'm guessing it's both.
Yes, it is a mixed bag for sure. There we have franchisees that have residential construction backgrounds. They would either have been involved in an organization or company that did specific work, both either residential or commercial construction. Some ran their own contracting businesses in the past. Whereas others are more on the business side of things, specifically. Not that being a contractor isn't running a business, but they would be more exclusively in the sales and marketing fields.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we take everybody through a training program that not only evaluates their skills and their experience, but also fills in any gaps that we have, so that they can run the organization or their organization from end to end, regardless of whether they come from a background that exposed them to everything you need to know from residential construction, or they came from a background where they focused on marketing and business generation.
So how do you train these folks to do all the parts of the business? Do you have a online training module? Do you visit job sites? Do you have folks come to Toronto? How's it work?
Yeah, it's pretty much all of the above. So pre-COVID, we would have definitely people come up to our head office and do what we call our front of house training here, more of the classroom type training here, whether it's on the business systems or software, sales processes and things like that, as well as doing field work here with our local teams. Over the last 16 months, we've done a lot more work in our franchisees' markets. So we've had teams go out to their market and assist them in setting up their equipment and their trucks and their showrooms and getting started on projects. And then we've also built an entire online portal called Garage Living Academy that has modules that deal with everything from sales and marketing to installation to HR, right through to accounting. And that's allowed us to really ensure that we take our franchisees through a 10-week onboarding process that covers the business from end to end and gets them launched and generating revenue as quickly as possible.
I think a lot of folks have concerns about a franchise model. The startup fees can be high, and there is typically a requirement to buy the products from the franchisor. How would you respond to those people who have concerns about spending too much for a business they could start on their own?
So I think the first thing that I would say is that in many cases, especially a contractor that's already in business could decide to be in this category and be in business and generate projects. At the same time, there is the question of, how much is that going to cost as an independent to get into this business, to learn everything you need to learn, to figure out exactly, how you market, how you generate leads, how you source products and what quality products, what's it going to cost you to build a brand and figure out all these systems. So when you join a franchise organization, and I understand that there's a perception out there of a very high cost of entry. And then, there's certain conformities required within the system. But at the same time, you need to evaluate, so how quickly am I going to get to this level? And how quickly would I get to that level if I were to do it on my own? And then what access to products do I have by being part of a larger organization? So one of the things that we are very cognizant of is, making sure that there's a good fit between the franchise candidate and ourselves, as we talked about in terms of the evaluation. They have to understand that we're here to support them and work with them as their partner. If they think they can do it all on their own and they have their ideas of how they want to operate the fundamentals, it may not be a good fit and they may not be right for a franchise organization. But if they recognize a franchisor that has built a strong brand, that has systems that are going to allow them to really just get up and running and work with them. It's often said in the franchise world, when you join an organization, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. People that embody that philosophy tend to really benefit from the franchise setup and partnership. And we take it very seriously. And with residential home services, especially with ours, in that all of our projects are unique, and each project is it's not recurring business. It's usually a project that we would go to a client and then we'd move on to the next one after that's finished. There's a lot of latitude in terms of how they're going to operate their specific business using our model and our system. So perhaps that perception of the franchise organization that is very restrictive comes from perhaps some really well established and very successful restaurant brands and things like that, where it doesn't seem like you're going to have a lot of ability to continue to be your own boss and be running your business in the way that you think makes most sense. And then there's a model like ours that gives you a little bit more freedom to make those decisions while conforming to the system and standards that we have in place.
Can you talk about how a typical project comes about? Does a potential client contact you? Do they contact a local franchisor? Does a salesperson go to their house and show them slat wall? And how does that all work?
Yeah, absolutely. So you got most of that right. Typically, we generate opportunities, and that can come in the form of inquiries on our website, phone calls directly to our franchise locations, or simply they may walk in through the doors of our showrooms. And however they initiate that, or they may see a truck on their neighbor's driveway, which often happens. However they initiate contact with us, we typically set up a in-home design consultation. And our design consultants go out to their space, to their garage. They understand what they're looking for, what their lifestyle is like, what their needs are. And, yes, they'll show them samples of different products and different colors and different solutions. And from there, we put together a proposal that includes a CAD drawing, renderings and elevations, and an itemized quotation so that they understand what the full scope of work looks like before deciding to go ahead. And then once we're good to go, we work with the client to get the project done. And most projects take at most 4 to 5 days to complete.
The things I've observed, and I haven't seen your product outside of your website, but the colors and the diamond plate associated with the Gladiator product line, that's not right for everybody, I'm sure. And part of me loves it. Part of me is like, I don't know. Do you offer different colors and finishes for the stuff that go in your garages?
We do. And part of what you identified is something that we're very, very cognizant of. And that's the man cave culture that often gets associated with garage improvements. And
my guess is that's because typically that's who's generating this interest, but of course that's very stereotypical.
And I think you would be surprised that the gender the divide between men and women who both initiate the project as well as who are the key decision makers is typically 50-50. So our clients are equally both men and women, and are looking for different things. So we understand that. And if a client wants finishes that are more masculine and may have that man cave theme, we can offer that to them. If they're a homeowner, if they're homeowners who are simply just a busy family and need to organize their space and want the colors to be consistent with their brick or their windows or their driveway and landscaping, we have all of those options. And we even take it a step further. We've created what's called our designer series that has many different palettes that have been quote unquote put together in the way an interior designer would to really understand exactly what a customer's taste is and what their aesthetic is and what's consistent with the interior of their home. And it goes beyond that to what they define as livable space. In our name, Garage Living, people sometimes misunderstand that, we're not creating a space where you're actually going to, eat and sleep necessarily. But livable is different for every client that we have. And they define that and that typically would come up in the initial consultation. So they tell us, look, I need a space to park my car. I got to get my kids' stuff off the floor. We have, a busy family. We need this organized. Or, I love woodworking, and I want a space that organizes my stuff, but also makes room for my hobby. Or, we go a step further, and, they have a car that they want to protect and store. And then there's the clients that want to watch the big game, or, put a ping pong table in there for their teenagers to play. And COVID has even taken that further, in that we need home office spaces and we need classroom spaces and all those types of things. Fitness is huge. That really define what the client is looking for. And then once we know that, we can put together a package that addresses both their lifestyle, their needs, their wants, and their design aesthetic.
So I got to ask, what made you want to start this business? Did you see limitations in your own garage, or did you want to have a construction company? I mean, you said you have a business background. It seems to me like most folks aren't coming out of school with a business degree who want to start a garage outfitting company, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're bang on. I would say that when I was in school, this was probably the farthest thing from my mind. I've always been interested in construction, and I like to do projects around the house and with my family. I was fairly young at the time when we started the company, so I was just getting out of my parents' home. That being said, I think had I not gone into business here, I would have likely been in building and construction for sure. It's a passion. I've always had a passion for cars as well, which is very closely associated with
Sure.
the garage. And so this really came about as an opportunity and a recognition that there wasn't a lot of product, number one, for clients to finish the garage space. And then there was almost next to nobody offering service to enable them to get it done. And so those two things combined proved to be an excellent opportunity for us to create a model and a business that both offered clients products that they hadn't seen before, and then offered them the service of design and installation and turnkey service that really wasn't available prior to our company launching.
What advice would you give somebody who is contemplating, becoming one of your franchisees? How do you get ready? How do you know if it's right for you? What are the basics?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are constantly putting candidates in touch with our existing franchisees, just so that they can understand from someone who's in the business and who lives and breathes it day to day, what they're going to experience, and what are the ups and downs, whether you're in a franchise organization or you're in business as an independent. I mean, a business is a roller coaster. And you're going to have, fantastic wins and days that are very challenging. And so, so you need to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And oftentimes, I think it's definitely the most sincere and transparent to hear that from one of our existing franchisees. Now, the hope is that there's way more good than bad and ugly, but at the same time, it's definitely the most honest approach to it. And then, they have to really understand what role they want to play within their business, their franchise that they're going to start up. So there are individuals that want to build a local garage living location so that they're managing sales teams and installation teams and administration. And there's some locations that want to get started and be more hands-on in all of those areas at the beginning. So there are different approaches to it, and that's why we have different types of candidates. But by and large, I think it's always best, no matter what business you're looking to get into, franchise or otherwise, to speak to people that are in the business and understand exactly what they're getting into.
Do you want folks to have a showroom, like a place where people can go and look at stuff? Is that part of the deal?
It is. So it's one of our sort of key differentiating factors. Number one, we need a place of business to operate, whether that's warehouse space to receive product, for our crews to meet in the morning, things like that. But at the same time, I mean, having bricks and mortar is part of what is the experience of understanding what you're going to be buying, especially as the value of these projects gets larger. People want to know what they're going to be getting. And it's oftentimes difficult to understand that from a small sample or just a rendering. So yes, we expect all of our locations to have a fully functional showroom space where clients can, if they choose to, come in and pick finishes or see products that they want to get, or simply really get a feel for what we do and the quality of our work. And
is it as elaborate as an IKEA showroom where you have little vignettes of garages set up for people to walk through?
So I think that that's an excellent comparison, but at the same time, it's far smaller in scale.
Yeah.
So yes, we do. Our showrooms typically have a number of vignettes where there are garages set up with different cabinetry or flooring or organizers or different sort of the designer series that I alluded to before, set up in that color scheme and with that theme. And at the end of the day, they're simply there's no packages, like I said. Customer we can design it using all sorts of different products and all sorts of different colors. But at the same time, it gives them a feel for, number one, our quality. Number two, what the finished space is going to look like. And it's an experience. We very much feel that our finished products are our lifestyle. Yes, you need the products to be able to
hold soccer balls, but you also want it to be nice, right?
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, yes, it has to hold soccer balls and toys and bikes and things like that, or golf clubs. But at the same time, you need it to be part of your lifestyle, especially if you're going to invest significant money in this space. Every day, if you come home and you open the garage door, you'll get a great feeling of being welcomed by a finished space that's not dusty, that's not dirty, that's not disorganized. And, most oftentimes the entranceway through the garage is used as the primary entrance and exit for most homeowners. And
That's interesting you bring that up, because nobody would tolerate golf clubs, soccer balls, tennis rackets in their foyer, right? Yeah. It just would never, but somehow it's okay when it's your garage.
Well, and oftentimes people think, okay, so if I close the door, no one sees. But I mean, at the same time, it's really, for our clients, maybe it is about, other people seeing how they live and how organized their space is. But for us, it's really about how they feel and how, the lifestyle makes them feel. And it's about, a lot of people who, want to eliminate stress or anxiety or frustration. They want to simplify their lives and declutter. And
who doesn't want order in their life, right?
That's right. So, having things, finished and things having their place, or being behind closed doors in the case of cabinetry, really accomplishes that. And so it may be just easy to think that it's these specific products for organization or storage or finishes for flooring, but it's about the lifestyle that you can live with this finished space and how it makes you feel.
This is my favorite part of the whole show, but can you tell me about your own garage? Is it a mess? Do you have stuff everywhere? Do you have beautiful slat wall up in your garage? I bet you do.
So I can finally say that now I do, but we only moved into our current home 2.5 years ago. Prior to that, we were living.
What were you doing for 2.5 years, Aaron?
Oh, no. We did it before we completed the garage before we moved in. So for the last 2.5 years, I've enjoyed living.
So you finished your garage before your house, is what I hear.
Well, our home is about 17 years old, so it's structurally and mechanically it's in perfect shape and has had the key components finished. When we moved in, it was someone built it as a custom home 17 years ago, but they didn't touch the garage. So I opened the door and I'm like, okay, well, this is getting done before we move in. And so we did it. And then in terms of, we've done a few other things, but over time, we're going to refinish the kitchen and the bathrooms and things like that so that they're just more modern and up to date. But
what's your garage like? I'm dying to know.
Yeah, so it's not large. We live in the north end of the city, so it's not massive. It's a tight 2-car garage, and we do manage to fit both our cars in there in the cold winters. I have some shallow cabinetry across the back wall. And then we have wall organizers along the sides where we hang everything up, and it's a tight fit, but it's perfect. And if we don't use it or need it, we get rid of it. And my
This
wife's
stuff,
she's
wise,
very
right?
strict about that to make sure that we're not filling it with just endless amounts of stuff.
Do you feel like you made the right choice in designing it? Are there things you would change if you could do it over again?
No, I'm really happy with everything we've done there. We've introduced some new colors and things over time since we did the project. So maybe that would be something that I would change. But overall, functionally for my family and for how we use the space, it's perfect. So we've got everything put in there in terms of behind closed doors and cabinetry along the back wall. There's a workbench. So if I am doing a project, there's a large remote control car there that my son's managed to mangle that I'm trying to fix. And we'll get done over the weekend, hopefully. And at the same time, there's our bikes are in there and all of our sports equipment. We're a young family, so we do have a fair bit of stuff. But at the same time, we need the space to park, and so it's working quite well for us.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show, Aaron. Is there anything you want to ask or tell our listeners before we go?
Thank you for having me. It's been great to talk about our business and the industry as a whole. One of the things I would tell your listeners is that if they have interest in doing their garage or exploring what a project would look like, is to reach out. There's no cost to speak to one of our design consultants in our many markets. Oftentimes people don't realize the value of the space until they go and look into what they can get out of it and what they can make use of it, and what livable means to them. And so it's definitely worth exploring. Like I said, it's one of the largest rooms in the average home and the least utilized. And also, it's one of the least expensive to finish if you compare to a basement or bathroom or kitchen. So, I think a lot of people are opening their eyes to the potential, and I would encourage them to do so. And if they want some advice or some recommendations, we'd be happy to meet with them and discuss what the options are and what they're looking for in their finished garage for their finished home.
What's the website, Aaron?
So you can find all the information and all of our locations at garageliving.com. And in our locations, you can contact the franchise location in your specific market, or you can simply request a consultation, and one of our design consultants will call you from the local market to set something up.
Sweet. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks to Aaron Cash for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please remember to send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to fhbpodcast@taunton.com. And don't forget to like, comment, or review us however listening. It helps other folks find our podcast. Stay safe, everybody. Keep craft alive. Clean up your garage.